This is episode 2 of Dowsing Rods. I made a list and I changed my mind on the direction of which episode we're going to use. So I think the second one was supposed to be about the history. I'm going to record that later just because I have a couple of other books that are coming in. I'm going to go in more depth about EVPs and using your dowsing rods while you're recording with EVPs. So what you need are your dowsing rods and my voice recorder. I also have my external speaker that plugs in, and that way it'll be easier to hear because it amplifies the sound compared to just playing it back right on your recorder. I'm also going to go through a couple books that are useful for people who are wanting to get into this solo. So I run a ghost hunting group for it's more than 10 years. I would say probably back, I don't know, I was going through my old files and I had some stuff from 2004. So it's been a long time. Usually when I ghost hunt, I'm doing this alone and investigating some areas that are, public property. And a lot of times it's either, during the day or in the evening. You just have to be careful where you're going. Do some research. I have a couple of videos of us going to a place called the Insane Cemetery. And there are some people that are homeless that live there. And you just have to, be respectful and, also, care about your safety just in case. Usually people are pretty, harmless. Usually for places like that, you want to go there during the day, just so you can kind of see where everything's at. Especially a lot of public places have dumping grounds. So this place we went to was a cemetery for a old, mental hospital, and there were a lot of people that were not claimed. So they had some headstones that just had the word unknown on it because they, unfortunately didn't have the name of the person. Some of them also buried, I think, there were samples of body parts. It's a really interesting story. I'm pretty sure a lot of cities have, similar stories. So this is in Columbus, Ohio, and it's literally called the Old Insane Cemetery. They recently put up a fence around the area, but you can just, you can walk through it. They have a gate. But I would recommend, scope the place out first before you go. If you are, new to ghost hunting, I would go to your local cemetery. Do it during a time when there's not a lot of people, and, take a voice recorder with you, and also take some headphones because you're going to have a hard time hearing. So something like this, and you just plug it into your voice recorder while you're listening, and that way you can kind of hear better because of, your environment. You're outside, you may hear a lot of cars driving. Usually I'll go with a couple of friends around right before dusk in the summertime. So that's around 7, 8 p.m. A lot of places are closed after dusk. You're technically not supposed to be there after dark, but no one really, people don't care as long as you're not, trying to vandalize anything, and you leave, everything alone. You just, go there, take your equipment, investigate, and then, you're done. Don't leave anything. Don't bring extra items and put it on someone's, tombstone. There are a couple places in Columbus, trying to think of the name of it. I don't know if it's Green Lawn Cemetery. It's one of the bigger cemeteries in Columbus. I used to go there when I was a beginner. there are a couple old headstones for children that people will, bring in toys and leave them. It seems to be okay because the cemetery, the people that maintain it, they leave those items there. But they're children from like I believe the 1950s. So, I would not bother anyone's grave, when they had passed, recently. I would stay away from that, just because you want to be respectful for, any family members that are living. So the very first book that I like is called So You Want to Hunt Ghosts. And this is a great one because it has actually some paperwork that you can copy that are forms in here. And of course, now I can't find it. But this has a really good section about EVP recording and just recording media, because you want to make sure you can get the highest quality you can. So there's a chapter called Analyzing Data. That's chapter 12. So I'm going to go to that chapter. And one of the things I like about this is that they talk about lossless format. From what I'm reading in here, and it's been a while since I, set this up. There are formats called, MP3s and WMA. Those actually, kind of ruin your audio quality. I'm being a hypocrite because I think I'm recording in, for MP3. That's something I'm going to actually look through my recorders to see how I can change that. But one of the good file formats that I like are OGG files. It's .oog. They're open source. You don't lose any quality. I believe Wave is another one that is good. Okay, so in this book they recommend recording in 24-bit instead of 16-bit resolution. Says those are not options for MP3 or WMA. I wouldn't worry about that too much when you start out, but that's if you really want to get your audio quality, or if you're worried about that, then look into recording in 24-bit instead of 16-bit, and also see if you can change your file format to either WAV. And just really, so that's something that you want to look at when you're buying a voice recorder. When I bought my recorders, I believe I didn't check that with my Sony one, which I showed in my other episode. I have another voice recorder that's by Olympus, and I think that one, the Olympus one, records in OGG, or at least WMA. So it's been a while since I had to even change the settings on here. I remember setting it up a long time ago and just left it because I'm always, when you're showing up at on an investigation, you're ready to go. You don't want to fumble around with all of your equipment. Because I have a lot. I have a Pelican box down here that I'm trying to reduce stuff inside of it just because there's so many cables. That's a big issue with that, because you're trying to plug in the right thing, and you don't want to waste everyone else's time because everyone's setting up around the same time. The other book is called, this is a recent one, The Brave Mortal's Guide to Ghost Hunting. And it's a really good book. I like the author. She's pretty active on Twitter, and I think she has a TikTok. And she does live streams that she schedules ahead of time, so you can ask her questions. She's a great person to follow, and she has a lot of experience. I do like her, how she's a skeptic, but she's also very respectful of, everyone that's in the field. It's a really good book to read about because she covers not just like the technical stuff, but also kind of the philosophy of all of this. I think I mentioned that in maybe another episode, or I think the previous episode, or a shorter video that I made a while back, how people, like we're trying to get away from the term ghost hunting because, if you really believe that you are talking to the dead, you want to be respectful for that, for them. You don't want to stand in a room and demand them to talk to you. You try to picture yourself that, that you passed away and you're in this, this room. And they're kind of like, infantized in a way where you have someone yelling at them and asking them to, to talk to you. So I thought that was really interesting because you see in Ghost Adventures, it's kind of the opposite. They antagonize. But it's up to you. Like I've done both. Like ignorantly, I have antagonized in the past, just so because I was getting impatient and seeing if I would get a response. Most of the time I don't. I have seen people have scratches on them, on their back, which it was interesting. That was at a place called the Camp of Shadows. In Ohio, and it used to be the whole story, it's a 4-H camp now, but the owner found some remains of a woman and her dog who they believe is a Native American, and oddly enough they put her remains and the dog inside of a little glass case inside of one of those we call it cabins, that the 4-H kids, also sleep in. They have a little museum, and that probably not the best place to to put a body, especially something with very historical significance. After we visited, before we visited, a group came in, actually took the body and they took the remains and put her in some museum that is they're for Native Americans, and I need to look into that again because that was like one of my I would say like my big first outings with this group that I was a part of, and it was a very big place. Like we investigated a lot outside, and we investigated in all some of the cabins and the museum. So inside the museum, one of the guys was antagonizing whatever entity that we think are there, and he yelled, and then he turned around and had scratches on his back. And if I can find it, I'll try to put that picture in this video because that was really interesting. But I'm not, I don't like antagonizing. I think it's, attention seeking, and you don't want to look like a fool when you're doing that in front of other people. Either, you're going to get, if you're going to get a response or not, just showing up if, these spirits really want to talk to you. There's no reason to, be a jerk about it. So what I'm going to do is kind of go more in depth about recording and using dowsing rods. We're going to do some EVP burst. So I'm going to just turn my recorder on. And I'll kind of demonstrate what a EVP burst is. So now it's on. I'm going to press record. Is there anyone here? You can answer and I'll play this back in a few seconds. Do you see Kelly? She's sitting in my chair. All right, I'm going to stop this. When you start an EVP, you always want to kind of address, like, I'm going to start recording, and then it's good to say I'm done recording, that I'm going to stop it. That's, you know, for whatever that's listening, and also for yourself when you're going through these files later, because you'll kind of, if you have a lot of files, you're going to forget where you're at. And then I'm going to turn this on and play. Trying to do this without like making it sound terrible. There we go. Is there anyone here? You can answer, and I'll play this back in a few seconds. Do you see Kelly? She's sitting in my chair. Alright, I'm going to stop this. So there are some background noise. You can hear my furnace going, but that's okay. Like I didn't really hear anything. A lot of people, there's different types of people who look for EVPs. So you got some people who look for any type of noise that they hear, and you have some people that listen for very clear words. I'm in the middle. I like to, like if I hear something, I'll go on my computer and open up Audacity and amplify the sound to see if I can hear anything. If you're, you know, out in the field, you're gonna listen to clearer, you know, words, just because you want to try to respond, you know, to the answers that you get on this. Kelly? You are sitting on. She's sitting on my chair. She's gonna walk on my computer. So this is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask a couple questions, see what kind of responses we get while I'm recording. But since we're going to do EVP bursts, I think it's a bit easier, so you're not having to listen to me, replay stuff over and over. Okay, so we're recording. Are you here? I know last time we did this, Kelly was in here, and she's right here on the floor. Do you see Kelly? So crossing means yes. Does Kelly see you? Yeah, the birds outside. So Kelly can see you. Kelly, do you see something? Let's see. Are you here all the time? That means no, because it's not crossing. Are you here for Kelly? She's right here just sleeping on the floor. And she's looking around. So I guess that question is just kind of, there's no answer to that. Can you point to the direction where Kelly is? And she's right there. She's underneath the camera. And it's pointing towards her. Do you like cats? Maybe. Do you like animals? It's moving, but it's not really, I don't know, that might be a no. Okay, so I'm going to play back some recordings and see if we hear anything. I wonder if I can point the camera down. Oh, I'll just leave it because I don't want to mess up the stuff. All right, so we're going to replay back the recording. I'll kind of try to fast forward through it. I also was going to show you how this stuff works. So when you're on investigation, if you put this in the wrong port, it's going to make a loud screechy noise. I had that happen in the last episode. Which is the mic. You want to put it in the headphone part, the green one. I don't know if you can really see that. I already have it turned on, and then all I do is just press play. Okay, it's now recording. Are you here? I know last time we did this, Kelly was in here, and she was right here on the floor. Do you see Kelly? I heard a thud, but I think that might just be me. Means yes. There's some kind of background noise. Does Kelly see you? Those are the birds. There's birds outside. So Kelly can see you. Kelly, do you see something? Let's see. I think those are crows.
Are you here all the time? That means no, because it's not crossing. Are you here?
I just heard the voice.
For Kelly?
So is that about a minute and 30 seconds in?
She's right here, just sleeping on the floor. And she's looking around. So I guess that question is just kind of, there's no answer to that.
So there is a option on this voice recorder where you can mark the spot, which I just did. It's the wrong spot because it's not at that right time. But that's a way, like if you hear something and then when you go back later, if you don't have time, you can remember that's the point where you need to review or just write it down.
Can you point to the direction where Kelly is? And she's right there. She's underneath the camera. And it's pointing
Kelly's looking around. I always wanted to bring like an animal investigation because supposedly they...
Do you like cats?
They see things or feel things.
Maybe? Do you like animals? It's moving, but it's not really...
It was 2 minutes, 50 seconds or something there.
going to play back some recordings and see if we hear anything.
Okay, so that was about a full of 3 minutes. And what I'll do is go through that in a bit. And maybe I'll add it in the video. But, you know, I'm just wanting to show you like how you do this along with dowsing rods. When you're in big groups, this is usually one of the main events. Like if you go to the Matsuo Reformatory, they have public ghost walks, and they'll walk you around to just different areas of the building. One of the I would say like active areas are the showers, and there'll be a lady that will like read from the newspaper and like and talk about the scores and like, you know, basketball or football, and they'll use, you know, dowsing rods. Most of the time I don't bring my voice recorder for stuff like that, just because it's really you know, noisy, and it's, you know, it's kind of it's inconsiderate to be replaying that while someone is trying to you know, do their dowsing rods to demonstrate. You know, you could bring a voice recorder and just let it go the whole time if you know, you may get lucky and just catch something. But I would wait till you know, go home and review it. Don't, you know, play it when you're around a bunch of people. But, you know, that's the fun thing about having, you know, solo investigations or small groups, especially when you're doing something like a private thing, where you go, you know, to a cemetery, or you go to a business that, you know, called you to investigate, because you can, you know, you have more control over that and what you're looking for. So these are the 2 books. This is the newest one. This one's older. It's by Lillewin, which is still a pretty big book publisher. This one does not have a publisher name on it. It might be self-published. For the Brave Mortal's Guide to Ghost Hunting. I think I bought this off at Etsy, but I think I'll check and see if there's a link on Amazon. Let me know if you have any questions. I know these are kind of all over the place, but I do like to, I get a lot of people out in the field, you know, ask me, how do you do this? So I think making videos will help them out, just because they can actually see like little segments of, you know, different tools to use. I feel like voice recorders and dowsing rods are fairly, you know, they're less expensive compared to, you know, investing into a camera. Like, you know, like this is pretty expensive, because it's, you know, you want a camera that has night vision. Sony is a really good brand for, because they have something called Night Shot. So if you're looking for, you know, camera to use in the dark, look for something that does like, well, anyway, it has the word Night Shot on it, and what you do is you just press the button to start it up. I do make infrared lights, so that's what this picks up, are infrared. And there's other cameras, that's another thing you can look for is infrared. So like you can spend between, you know, 50 up to, you know, whatever, you know, depending on what type of quality you're looking for. If you buy, I would say like you could spend about $200 for a good camera that will last you for a while. I have a couple old ones in there that, by Bell and Howell, and they're full spectrum. I'm not a big fan of full spectrum, just because those lights that you buy, if you want to like amplify the light, they are like a rainbow color, which lights up the room. You know, you might as well just have the lights on. Infrared lights, you can't see. They're little LED lights that look kind of purple, you know, head on, and you'll see a little tiny red dot. Those don't they're not distracting. So most cameras have infrared that are, labeled infrared. They have a light built in, and it's almost like a little flashlight. So you point the camera and you'll see straight forward. And then you can buy external infrared lights, and that will make, a wider range for you to capture. I do have a tutorial and I'm trying to finish for that because it's way cheaper. Most infrared lights are between like $55 and up if you go to a ghost hunter, store website. You can buy black lights for infrared. Those work too. To me, they're still a little bit distracting because they're still kind of bright. That's something, if you're looking into upgrading your equipment. There's Kelly.